Hello, and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
Justin Creepy Vampire DeClue.
I'm Colin Cunningham. This is November, man.
We don't need to do the creepy
it's Shockvember. Oh,
no. Just when you finally got a name down.
Yeah, I went to one of those Halloween name things. There's like first letter J, creepy, last letter D, vampire. All right, I'm good.
Okay, so I'm laughing because I'm so excited that we're finally talking about...
This is like your dream.
One of my
No,
favorite
is it a dream or is it a nightmare? Because every time I bring it up, April will be like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make fun of this movie.
Well, the thing
it's gotta
is,
be the right time.
It's not one of my favorite movies. That's an exaggeration. But out of all the movies that we've done on the show, it's probably the movie I've seen the most.
Really?
Like, I'm sure I've probably
God.
seen this like at least 20 times
Really?
in my lifetime. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's Queen of the Damned from 2002. I have no idea who
Directed
directed
by
this.
Michael Reimer. I've never heard of this guy.
He's a big TV guy now. Like, he does
I
a
see,
lot of
okay.
television, yeah.
He's like an Australian director. I think this was shot in Australia, right?
It was indeed.
All right. Well, there you go.
This is the anticipated follow-up to Interview with a Vampire.
When did Interview come out?
1994.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
94. So it was a big gap.
And this one came out for copyright reasons.
Yeah, because
It did, yes.
Yeah, it was gonna. The rights were gonna revert back to Anne Rice in 2000. So unless they started principal photography on something,
Yeah, so they kind of rushed this.
A
but
classic
yeah.
Roger Corman's Fantastic Four situation.
Yeah.
hey, this one got released.
And I
That's
mean,
true.
like, you can read up on like the history of the production of this movie, but basically Anne Rice was okay with it, and then she wasn't, and then it came out, and then she like condemned it. But really, I don't care what she thinks about the movie. It's
Are
great
you an
movie.
Anne Rice
Okay, no.
Are you a
Are
Rice
an
head?
Anne
Not a
Rice
great
fan, April? Yeah.
I've actually never read any of her books, to be
Oh, okay.
honest.
No, neither
So
have I.
I can't really say. So, okay.
I'm more a
Background
fan of
on-
her Christian period.
Yeah, which I was reading about today, which is shocking.
What was that?
She went Catholic towards the end of her career and wrote books about Jesus.
Well, so
Oh,
she
God.
she was raised Catholic, and then she kind of turned away from it, wrote her vampire
Yeah.
books, then turned back Catholic, and then wrote a bunch of like Christ the Redeemer, the Revenge,
Yeah.
and then she stepped away from Catholicism. I can't say the word.
Catholicism.
Catholicism. Or she went in around like 2008. She wrote like a big op-ed piece about it.
oh,
interesting.
weird.
But yeah, I definitely would love to read some of the Vampire Chronicles someday. So me and my cousin, we were super into vampires as kids and teenagers. You know, it was like our thing. It probably started with that first Interview with a Vampire movie. So she read all the books, and so she would fill me in on the stuff that's actually in the books and not in the movies. So when this movie came out, it was a big deal for us. It's a celebration. We were kind of goths too, so it's a celebration of all things gothic. It's got the best new metal soundtrack
Oh my
ever,
God, the nu
and
metal.
like it's got hot vampires. So it has everything. It had everything that we loved, and we watched it a lot. And yeah, we would make fun of it here, there, and there were things about it that we knew were silly, but we still like loved it. And then I didn't see it again for a long time. I rewatched it in 2020, and I was like, okay, yes, I get that there are things that are bad about this, but you know, I still like it. And that soundtrack is just
Some things
it's
that
so
are
good.
bad.
Yeah, the soundtrack is banging, and everyone knows I love the soundtrack.
So I went the extra mile and I listened to some of the soundtrack. And I gotta say, at about track 5, I'm like, I cannot tell these songs apart. It's like, I am dying.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm with
Oh,
Justin
yeah.
on this.
Oh,
I was,
yeah.
you know, I missed that whole era of new metal. So
Now, I wanted to come in and be like, oh, yeah, new metal sucks. But listen, love Linkin Park, love Papa Roach, who's on the soundtrack.
Yep.
And those are considered new metal. So,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, so new metal is funny because it was kind of like a small subgenre that existed in the mid 90s.
was it
to
small?
mid-2000s.
It seemed to be all music from like 1998 to 2002.
Well, yeah, but I just feel like it wasn't like it didn't have longevity.
No.
Like new metal, it was around. It did seem like it was everywhere at this certain point, but it
Especially
didn't,
when me and
like,
you were
extend.
teenagers, April.
Yeah.
Like that was the dominant form of music when we were growing up.
Yeah, but I feel like
Swing was big when
I
I was
gotta
a
say
teen.
it's not like as big as
Rockabilly-
like.
the swing? Like, the swing revival, not
Swing
actual
revival,
swing
yeah.
like in the 50s.
No,
Oh,
but
we
like,
went to-
but like I'm just saying, like grunge, you know, new wave, rockabilly even, those are words people know. Most people don't even know what nu metal is. They don't even know how it's spelled.
Puddle
NU,
of
isn't it?
Mud.
NU, yeah. Puddle of Mud.
Is Creed nu metal? Like Christian
Yes.
nu metal? Yeah, okay.
They had a Christian slant, but
Crew metal.
I would consider Creed to be nu metal, and then Limp Bizkit is nu metal.
Oh, no, yeah.
the kind of rap rock thing
Yeah.
that and Linkin Park did that.
Kind of like
but
chunky
after
guitar.
it kind of became more the glamour. Yeah, he did it.
There you go.
It became more emo and glam, and then the very, very depressive state of nu metal.
So
it kind of went
Evanescence,
away.
nu metal or not?
Absolutely, yes, I would say yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
But the funny thing about this is that like the sound that wakes Lestat up.
This is so funny.
But I mean, if you listen to the lyrics, it's very like apathetic, and I'm depressed. And nu metal was different from classic rock and roll because it's often about trauma, abuse, singing and talking, sometimes depicting that abuse and saying, I can't relate to anyone. I'm lonely, I'm sad, and I'm angry. And that's
Just like
very
Lestat.
vampire.
I'm lame, at least according to this movie.
I'm
say
hot
that.
in this black leather.
And my low rise.
I like speed metal, thrash metal, power metal, but nu metal is noot for me, I think.
I think I prefer nu metal to speed metal or screamo, as it is called.
I don't like screamo either. That's kind of like when I think speed metal, I think of like people are going to argue that it's not what this is, but like Dragon Force and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. What about like Slayer? Something like that?
Yeah, I've never really gotten into them that much.
I loved System of a Down, and I would consider that nu metal.
Yeah.
And they kind of came and went.
You don't need to correct us. It's okay if we got the counter
Yeah. So by the way, and if anyone wants to chime in on my nu metal knowledge, I'm sure I'm wrong about a lot of stuff, and that's perfectly fine.
But you feel it in your
let's talk.
bones, and that's all that matters about nu metal.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that a lot of metalheads hated nu metal.
Yes,
like
right.
There was that as well. Anyway, it's not my favorite thing about the movie. I'll find something else good to say.
Wait, it's
about
not
the
your
movie.
favorite thing?
What?
No, it is. I'm just saying there's other good things.
What?
And everyone already knows.
There's other good things. All right, well.
People don't know what we're doing. We're doing the beginning of Down with the Sickness.
Oh, they know exactly what we're doing.
Which comes into the movie later. Oh my god.
Does it play in the movie? I thought it was
It
on
does,
the soundtrack.
yeah.
It's in the movie.
Yeah, they show the wide shot of his concert in Death Valley of like everyone arriving, and it's like, wow.
The best use of that song and nu metal, in my opinion, is in Jet Li's The One, where it's so funny
I'm
used.
going to have to see it.
Oh.
Yeah, right before a bomb goes off, it's like, ooh, wop, 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 wop. And it cuts to a rat that explodes.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
you gotta see
All
it.
right. We gotta watch this
Well, speaking
movie.
of Jet Li, who worked with Aaliyah, in
Romeo Must Die?
and her only other film was this movie. And
Matrix Resurrections. Oh, no, she was recast, right? Or...
That's right, yeah.
yeah,
She
I
was
believe
recast.
she only did these two roles.
Yes.
And it's a common misconception that she is not in this movie very much because she died during production. That's not true.
It was
she
after the
filmed
fact.
principal photography. So she is actually in this movie as much as she was always going to be in this movie.
Which is crazy.
It's called Queen of the Damned. She's front and center on the poster, and yet she's barely in this movie.
She shows up at the 1 hour mark. I was watching this today. And
Wait, does that include her as a statue?
Well, I'm not counting the
Okay.
statue.
No, the statue does not count. She did
Statue
not
does not
stay in
count.
a statue pose for those
I'm
moments.
talking about on screen. She shows up at the 1 hour mark, and she must have like
I think it's like 20 or 15
minutes of screen time.
Yeah. it's
And
on
that's
the
because
IMDb.
this is based on 2 books that they squeezed together.
Yeah,
and
it's a mishmash. So the Vampire Chronicles are what? There's the Vampire Lestat.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them.
Queen of the Damned.
The Interview with the Vampire is the first one.
Yeah.
And then there was the
Oh, I
Vampire
see.
Lestat, and then Queen of the Damned. And Queen of the Damned came out in 85, I think, or 88.
Right.
And then they just continued on from there.
So is Lestat even in Queen of the Damned?
Yes.
Okay.
So I looked up, so I'm sorry for people who have read the books. I didn't, but I did read the Wikipedia summaries.
just as good.
Just as
Yeah,
good.
so this movie is a big chunk of the Vampire Lestat, about his backstory, and then in Vampire Lestat, the book, he does become a rock star, and he does awaken Akasha, and it ends with her awakening. And then Queen of the Damned is like the aftermath of that, and about her going around killing people. And it's a little different than what happens in this movie.
Okay.
And there's her backstory is in that too, which is not in this movie, which would have been nice to know.
No, you know the budget. They have to go back to ancient
everything
Egypt.
that's in this movie is in the books. They did change a few things, but
It's a kind of mishmash.
It's two books mixed together. Like Jessie is a character,
Yeah.
but she didn't have a romance with Lestat, I don't think.
And I don't really know if the story works in the way that they're kind of presenting it. I think you just
they kind of did their best.
they did their best, but I think just the idea of doing that is probably not the best idea.
It's a bit disjointed because at the beginning of this movie, it's Lestat for a long time,
Yeah.
and then it's Jessie for a bit, and then it's back to Lestat for a long time,
Yeah.
and then we get to the Akasha stuff, and it's like, what?
Guys, I think it completely worked with the endless voiceover narration skipping between characters.
Oh my
Just
god.
the two characters, right? Or does Marius have
just two
voiceover too?
characters.
I'm laughing right from the get-go.
Oh,
like
me
the
too.
opening
Big
scene.
smile on my face.
And I'm just like, the movie should have just continued at this level, I think. You know, we've got Stuart, what's his name? Stuart Townsend.
Stuart Townsend. Can we talk about
Townsend.
Stuart Townsend
Yeah.
replacing Tom Cruise from the original? This
Yeah.
guy sucks.
I will say he was much better in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He can play Dorian Gray.
Yeah,
Well,
for
he's
sure.
not a good Lestat.
Stuart Townsend is only mostly famous for being fired from multiple roles.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was originally supposed to play Aragorn.
Yep.
And then
he trained and was on set for 2 months.
that's
and they
so
fired
bad.
him a day before shooting. And supposedly he said he was relieved because he was not getting on with the production.
well, they said originally they had cast him too young to play Aragorn.
which I think
Well.
is true.
he's too much of a pretty boy.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think he just didn't get along with people, it sounds like, because the same thing happened from Thor. He got fired from Thor because he was one of Thor's pals in that movie.
No
Really,
shit.
that
Yep.
late in his career.
Really?
I mean, not late, but you know what I mean.
Ooh.
That was a long time after Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I
And
mean,
yeah, he's
PJ
okay
is
in
famous.
this.
He fired Ryan Gosling as well from The Lovely Bones.
Oh, that's
Really?
right. Yeah, because he showed up
and he was
fat.
very big. Yeah.
He had gained all this weight for the role, but he didn't tell Peter Jackson, so he showed up on set really fat, and he was like, "Huh, what are you doing,
It's
Ryan?"
probably a blessing because that movie sucked.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling dodged a bullet like Neo in The Matrix. Was that one? Yeah, instead you get the Ryan Gosling equivalent, Mark Wahlberg. What?
How you doing, bro?
Yeah, but
How you doing,
mean,
PJ?
yeah,
I like them Hobbit movies.
You'd think that Stuart Townsend could do Lestat because he is this French nobleman, but something is just not right. I don't know what it is. But
It's just it feels like a TV show version of
okay.
him.
You say that, but then we watch the new TV show, and the Lestat in
wait.
that is amazing.
There's an interview with the vampire TV show, which was news to me until last week or the week before.
Yeah, and I think there's already been 8 episodes or something.
April and I started watching it, and it's kind of great.
It's great, and we've only seen the first 2 episodes, but
The Lestat is so
the guy
good.
who plays Louis is fantastic. He's from Game of Thrones, and it's really good.
Yeah.
So for a TV show, not bad.
Yeah, Lestat is exactly how I imagine him. But
Stuart Townsend in this movie is not charismatic. He doesn't have that swagger that you even get from someone like Tom Cruise. So he feels kind of like, a CGI background character. That you're like, I guess this is the main guy.
He's thinks he's got the swagger,
Yes.
but he doesn't.
yeah, this would be like an OC version of
Or perhaps
Interview with the
even,
Vampire.
what was it called? That vampire show that ran
Vampire
forever?
Diaries.
Vampire Diaries, yeah.
or I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
you're right. I can see that.
But
Wow,
it's just I don't know. The
the voice is also wrong. Yeah.
the narration is so funny. So it's narrating. We open up in a New Orleans cemetery.
Watch
He's
out for them
awoken.
gators.
He's been sleeping all these years. I guess he's bored with his life. He doesn't have a companion, so he's just I'm just gonna go to bed. We all do that.
And the sound
And the sound of new metal wakes him.
up. Okay, so in the book, I just want to say I read somewhere that he does become a rock star, becomes more of a Jim Morrison.
Right, which I can see.
Yeah.
He's got the leather pants. He's
So
shirtless.
that kind of traditional rock as
Right.
opposed to new metal goth.
I guess they
The
were making it
goth
for the
scene.
time.
But it does seem appropriate, right?
Does
They all look like vampires anyway.
What is this new music I'm listening to?
He does not have an accent like that,
New
does he?
metal.
He kind of comes and goes. I don't know.
Hello, it is me, Lestat.
I don't know what he's trying to
Definitely,
do.
not quite French. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it kind of changes from time to time.
I love when you see the band playing new metal.
Oh my God,
which
it's so
does not
good.
really play into this, but it's look at them, they've got nipple piercing.
Yeah, and they all look like really young. The two guys look like they're like 15.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're all so beautiful."
But they have this
Okay.
like I don't know, their rehearsal space is like this gigantic like looks like a plantation mansion
He
or
was
something.
like in his old house.
Yeah, and they have like it's all spookily decorated.
And Lestat is introduced lounging on a set of speakers, wearing a
Yeah.
leather jacket, no shirt, going,
Yeah, he's like sitting like with Burt Reynolds.
But he's like
almost.
singing to the music and his like
and this
eyes.
band, they love it. They're like, your
Yeah.
voice.
Wow, your voice.
It's beautiful.
They all have the worst Southern accents for some reason. It's like your voice.
Yeah. I don't
Well, it's probably all Australians pretending to be American.
It's like, yeah, you're from Louisiana.
a lot of this movie takes place in London, and I'm like, these accents don't sound right. So I think that I think that's it. I think that it's a Australian thing.
Stuart Townsend, speaking of CGI, the digital smoothing that is going on,
On all the vampires.
all the vampires, and it seems to, it's not consistent. So it seems to be in mostly close-ups. They will just smooth the hell out of
Their
their
face.
faces, but kind of maybe not in mediums, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that would cost too much money.
I guess. Yeah, it's really funny, though. It's very aggressive in some places.
So basically, yeah, he's just like, I decided to become a rock. And so I decided to become a rock star.
New
they
gods were
loved
born
me.
and worshipped.
Yeah, and he just pretty much says like
I'm a rock star.
I'm your new singer, and I'm in. Like, this is the movie I'm in for. I want to see this.
By the way, Lestat's voice in this, Jonathan Davis from Korn. Is it Davis or Davies? I can't remember.
You're asking the wrong person.
But so if you know what Korn sounds like, and you should, it's his
You
voice.
should. What are the big Corn songs?
Falling Away from Me,
Freak on a Leash.
Yeah.
I don't know how those go.
What's the one? Got the Life. They have some really good songs. Yeah.
So he's now the
he's
band.
now the biggest thing since sliced bread.
And then we cut to the rest of the opening credits over one of their music videos that's sort of like stylized like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
But as I was saying, this is not what a new metal music video of the time would look. That's just all I'm saying.
I mean, Marilyn Manson, like when they
Yeah,
look
but
like
it
this.
wouldn't look like quite. They're clearly doing a thing, but it felt very dated. And then later they show all his music videos are like
Wait,
this.
you
Yeah, they
think
all
the
kinda look
music
the
video
same.
feels dated? I mean,
Yes.
the whole movie.
I wanted it to look contemporary for the time. That's all I'm
Whatever.
saying.
I could picture this being.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a video like this.
I'm sure there is, and we've probably not seen probably multiple videos. Oh,
Yeah.
we should point out, too, that he says right from the get-go, he's like, my name's Lestat. I'm a vampire.
I'm the
People are like,
vampire
"Ooh."
Lestat. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh my god, I'm giving a they were always supposed to be hidden in the shadows, and now he's like telling people that he's a vampire." And it's a
Yep.
big
And
deal.
so that's the conceit of the movie. That's
Mm-hmm.
his goal, is to live out in the open, and he does this as a rock star.
yeah, and we skip right from the opening credits to the band's like this big press interview. So
Yeah.
within the opening credits, they've already become like the biggest band in the world.
Yeah. Just go with it.
Sure.
People love it, and like they stand enraptured as Lestat gives a press conference on like 50-foot video wall.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
From his like, I don't know, crypt or something like that. But I do love when the band arrives in like a limousine outside and all the fans are holding signs and they
It says
say,
like "suck my blood."
"Suck my blood," and one says, "Be my dark angel."
It seems appropriate, you know.
And they have this band manager who looks like it looks like he's from The Sopranos. Like
Yeah, I like that guy.
it's like, he should not be working with this band.
He always feels dubbed. I don't know why.
Now, I am unclear. You know what? He may have been dubbed because that happens in a lot of international productions
Yeah.
where people who don't have quite the right accent, they get dubbed in post.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I know
when
this
he's
happened
actually-
a lot on Blade 2.
When he's like talking to them, he's like, "Oh, mate, like what's going on? Guys? I want to get the band over here." And then,
David Prose originally did the voice, and they decided to switch him out.
and then they dub it. It's like, "Hey, whoa, what the fuck?
Hey, I'm a
I'm
vampire
walking here.
man.
I'm walking here. I'm The Sopranos."
So I'm unclear of something.
Mm-hmm.
Does Lestat kill the women that he sucks their blood?
Yes.
Does
Yeah.
Yes.
Because later on he says, or there's a woman that says, "Oh, he just wants to suck your blood every now and then."
She didn't know what was really going on.
Okay.
That was just what she heard.
Yeah, that was the rumor.
Because obviously he does. Because then, like, what are we here for?
Well, this guy fucking sucks then. Like, he's killing people left and right.
He's supposed to be scary.
He's a
Vampires are
vampire.
scary. This
he's so
ain't no
scary in this
Twilight.
movie.
He's
So
like
after,
not
I mean,
scary.
it's not Twilight. It's basically Twilight.
Very
Yeah.
similar.
So well, he's kind of like, so this big press conference is basically him like provoking the vampires into to
Come and get
come
me.
at me, bro.
And he's
As the
gonna have
reporter
this great
asks,
concert.
"Are you giving away vampire secrets in your lyrics?"
The one thing I know about vampires is that they like to keep their secrets.
Really? That's the one thing you know about vampires?
Do you think they'd be pissed off that you're giving away their vampire secrets?
And he just says,
What secrets is he giving away?
come out wherever you are. And they talk about how he's having this big concert in Death Valley, and that's kind of what part of the plot of this movie is
Yeah, it's all
leading
kind
up
of
to.
building to this concert.
This huge concert.
And then we cut back to his estate in London or whatever, and the Sopranos
Let's
manager.
say Australia.
Sure.
Yeah. He brings in the two broads.
He's bringing in
And
these two
one of the
groupies.
broads is like, I said broads because April said it. I was tricked. They give the girls food, cable, and weed, but they have to let you suck whenever you want.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this living room that he has. These couches are amazing.
They're quite gaudy.
They're absurd. It's like leopard skin. They're so massive, first
they
of all.
almost seem to have like gargoyles on them.
Yeah, they had like ram's head statues on top of them. Like, they're just amazing.
don't-
I want to ask April this, though. Has leopard skin ever looked cool?
It depends who you're talking to. I mean, my friend is obsessed with leopard print.
Really?
She wears it at any chance that she can get. It's kind of her thing.
She just hates leopards.
Um,
and wants
She
them all
skins
killed.
them herself.
So it depends on your personal style. Like I don't wear leopard print. I used to wear zebra print a lot.
Really?
When I was like the age of when I saw this movie. Yeah, I think it can look good. And like, I wouldn't say no to a leopard print rug in the right setting, not in my living room, but in like maybe a more antique-y looking
If it looked like
place.
Lestat's living room.
Yeah,
or
but did you
something.
notice in his living room, he just has animal rugs like all over the floor, like spread out, like with the heads and everything.
Oh,
And
okay.
when they're crawling around on the floor, it's just like big space, like dead animal carcass, big space, dead animal.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen, you got to bring the room out somehow, April. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
he's the predator. You see, those are just like the dead corpses of all the. I'm surprised he doesn't have like groupie rugs.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like their
exactly.
heads.
The
on
women laid out.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're all like.
But they go to like give him a blowjob, and he says, "Don't do that." And
Yeah, he
that's
gets really upset.
Yeah, so that's
I'm very ticklish. Don't touch me there.
that's a little tidbit for foreshadowing for later, just to show that he doesn't have sex. He doesn't enjoy sex. He's not interested in it. He just
Oh.
wants to suck their blood.
But then he starts climbing the wall like Spider-Man, and they're like, "Oh, he must be part of the Pussy Posse." Because,
Yeah.
that's Tobey Maguire's thing.
Yeah, they brought in Christopher Nolan to shoot this scene. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna reuse the rotating set from Inception to
They're
shoot this
playing
scene."
that "Cold We're So Cold" song, which is fantastic. It's a great song. It's an iconic scene. And
I was trying to clock every song that they sang, and I was like, I can't tell them apart.
Yeah.
oh, I know all of
Cold
them.
is so cold.
Cold was so cold. And so then he like lands on them. And is this the first instance of, what are we going to call this effect?
Fast-moving CGI. It is my favorite thing in this movie. It gets
Okay.
used so often.
It's not just fast moving. It's almost like slow.
It's like a After Effects motion
Yeah.
trail effects that happens
see-
anytime the vampires fly or jump in this movie, which is a lot.
It's a hard
It
thing to
looks
describe.
so bad.
But yeah, it's so dated and they use it so much.
There is a scene later on. This is the big build-up, which is by far my favorite thing. It's like one of the funniest things you'll ever see.
Well,
Now,
we'll
someone
get
on the
there.
production was like, I love this. This is so good. Let's use this every time.
We need some otherworldly effect to show that the
This is the
vampires.
thing. If you just had him zipping around going whoop, whoop, whoop without this effect, it would have looked fine.
It would have been fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
I-
So yeah, they get freaked out
baffling.
because he's on the ceiling looking at them, and then
he falls down on them.
He just opens his mouth and then his fangs are there and they start screaming. It's like, I start screaming when he's climbing the walls.
And I think maybe they did this effect because they thought that the wire work looked too clunky.
It's quite possible, yeah.
Yeah, because like he falls and he's like, ugh.
Yeah, he's
like
kind
very
of wobbling
awkward.
a bit.
It could
So
be,
you could feel they were like, oh, we have to fix this somehow by making it look way worse.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't be surprised. And
then a second voiceover starts.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. So now we get the
Marguerite Moreau is
worst
the
character
actress.
and the worst actor in the whole
She
movie.
looks so sleepy in this movie.
Oh my God.
She is acting so bad.
It's really bad.
She acts like she does not want to be in this movie and is acting bad on purpose or something. It's the flattest delivery
Please.
I've ever heard.
I want to be fired.
Yeah.
I
Honestly,
know she
why
should
was
just talk
she
to Stuart
hired?
Townsend and find out how to get fired from production.
You know how to get fired.
Come on, Stuart. How do you do it?
And so Marguerite, we all know her, right? From the Mighty Duck series and the Wet Hot American Summer.
That's the only thing I know her from.
I don't know her from anything.
April, you haven't seen Mighty Ducks? We're Canadian.
No.
It's legally
And now
something we
it's
have
too
to
late.
do.
Now it's too late. I'm not going to watch a child's hockey movie now. I think
I'm not going to watch a child
hockey.
hockey movie. Put on Queen of the Dam for the 21st time.
I'd much rather watch that than the Mighty Ducks. Sorry.
If you've seen it this many times, I'm surprised you don't own it.
I know.
You got to get that snapper case. I remember that's what it used to be
I don't
in.
think I ever owned it. I own the soundtrack.
You should just purchase it. Save your money.
Yeah, the snapper case. Yeah. Well, my cousin had it, so I would just watch it at her place.
Oh, there you go.
I wonder if there's a commentary.
Probably.
From Stuart Townsend, he's like, what I was thinking here was...
And then it just stops, and then the director, he's been fired from the commentary track.
And he comes back in. I just had to get my keys.
Oh, you've been replaced. We've brought Viggo Mortensen in
to do the commentary.
Okay, so...
I speak 14 languages.
Jessie is this character. She's really boring, and...
we get this flashback to her childhood. She remembers this dream.
It's kind of a bit of a nothing. She has like an aunt who is obviously a vampire. And
Aunt,
like,
you're crying.
Yeah.
They have to send Jessie away. She can no longer live with the aunt for some reason.
And they seem to live in like just a giant open courtyard. Like, get out of here.
It's the only room you see of that space. And then she's like, they cast me away. I don't know why. And then we find out she's part of some group called the Talamascans, which is really not explained.
The London's Paranormal Association.
Yeah, the Talamasca Center for Paranormal Studies.
And so she gives a presentation that all I could think about was a presentation in Metal Detector Maniac. Where she's like, if you listen to these lyrics, you will see that they mention London's Arms in the first verse. London's Arms was a bar that was here, and many murders happened in it. And I think it's a vampire hangout. I'm like, these are some big jumps that she's taking.
Yeah, and she's giving this presentation to, it's like a table full of old fuddy-duddies.
Yeah, and they're like, it's our job to observe.
Who took these photos? And she says, I did. They're like, well, you're just an apprentice. You're not meant to get involved.
You're breaking the Talamasca code. Observe the dark realm, but be not of it. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this organization, Ben?
I
don't know.
Right? It's like the prime directive.
It's
no
so lame.
interfering. But of course she does anyway.
Yeah, so...
but her buddy, David, who I guess is just her mentor.
Boss or something. Yeah. He calls her into the office. And he's like, we know of Lestat. And this is Paul McGann. I knew I recognized him from something.
Who's this guy?
He played Doctor Who in a Doctor Who TV movie.
Surprise, surprise, another Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh, right. He played when they tried to update it to America and times, and Eric Roberts played his villain, the Master.
Oh, my God.
So it was a TV movie?
It was a TV movie.
So it was a pilot, and it was supposed to go to series, and it just didn't get picked up.
But they did actually do a series in the U.S. with Christopher Eccleston as Doctor Who.
That's Britain. That was a British series.
I thought that was the first new Who.
Yeah, that was the first new Who, but the Paul McGann one was an attempt to update it in the 90s.
Oh, I thought the Christopher Eccleston... Didn't it take place in England?
Nope. It was England, the Christopher Eccleston one.
Okay. But
Maybe I'm looking here. I feel the Paul McGann one took place in America, hence...
Okay.
He's in this movie. Not a lot. I thought he was one of the better actors in the movie. Actually seems like he cares about what he's saying.
Seeing them together in this scene just highlights how terrible an actress she is. She's like, but he's a vampire. Aren't we going to do anything about it?
I know, like, she's so bad. So bad. So
They keep showing paintings, and it's like, some mush-faced individual. Like, is this supposed to be Stuart Townsend?
Yeah.
it's Marius.
See, this is what I didn't know. I was like,
Yes.
is that supposed to be
I
Stuart
only know
Townsend?
because I've seen the movie.
He's like, we're aware of Lestat, like, ignore him. Check this out. And he's got this painting, and this guy keeps showing up in the background of the paintings. They're all throughout different eras, but there he is, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he says, we found Lestat's journal.
Yeah.
And then she starts
Could've
reading
opened
it.
with that. So he's
And
like,
Lestat's like, it's me again. I'm narrating, but
Hello.
David's like,
technically
this is the
voiceover
vampire.
narrate. It's a journal now, not voiceover.
He's like, this is the vampire that made Lestat, which is actually not true in the books. It was a different guy named Magnus, but Marius did bring Lestat to his villa on his Mediterranean island,
Yeah.
and he did have the statues in the basement. So that part is true. They
got a
just
pretty-
kind of changed
He's
it
got a
little
pretty
bit.
sweet pad. Yeah, and they show Lestat waking up. He's not a vampire yet. So he's like, there's me, Lestat. You might be wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
They don't
Let's start at the beginning.
they don't tell you. He just wakes up in his bed, and then Marius like talks to him for a bit. Vincent Perez is actually pretty good in this.
I think he's great. He's like a gay icon. I love him.
Is he?
No, I'm just saying he's my gay icon in this movie.
Oh, okay.
He's-
Really?
he's
He just kind of
flamboyant.
seems like Lestat. All these vampires seem the same to me.
You're right. It's a very Lestat-like performance.
Yeah, he's kind of has like an
could've
Antonio
played
Banderas
Lestat.
vibe about him. Like,
Yeah.
I actually looked and I was like, is this supposed to be the Antonio Banderas? No,
That's what I
someone
thought.
different.
No.
Yeah.
There's actually someone else playing Armand later in the movie, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so he sucks what's his name's blood.
He sucks Lestat and
then-
turns him into a vampire.
And then Lestat, he gives Lestat his blood to suck. And then Lestat's sucking on his, blood. And
Yeah.
and then Lestat turns into a vampire. And he's like, more.
I do like that shot where he like lifts off the ground. Like it looks like a wire did it, but it might have just been him. I don't know.
He kind of sits up straight, but it's
It's
very,
like his solar plexus comes up first. It looks neat. Anyway.
Yeah, you get a lot of. Doesn't Vincent Perez like attack him and he flies over
Yeah.
with the
He does
trail
the roar.
effect?
Okay, I feel like that effect had a sound effect. Did it?
It did.
Is it kind of like the $6 Million Man? sound?
It did not have the like.
You know what I mean?
It has a very
Yeah.
inappropriate, like kind of digitally sounding,
Yeah.
technology sounding sound effect. It's like,
Yeah, it is kind of like that sound. Okay. Anyway, so
Well, in between Suck and Blood, Lestat does the new metal of this period, the violin.
oh God.
he becomes a violinist, and like this is just like Interview with the Vampire. He's just like teaching him the ropes of how to drink people's blood. And
This movie, not gay enough. That's my issue
that's
with
pretty
it.
gay, dude.
Watch the TV show, man. Holy moly.
Well,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
explicitly gay, but I feel like there's lots of fun homoeroticism between these two in this movie.
yeah, their faces they get really close at points.
I feel like
It's
this movie kind of has everything for like every sexuality.
Yeah.
Like there's hot chicks, there's hot guys, making eyes at each other. There's the boring love story, heteronormative love story too. But it's got a lot of horniness that I think works.
Well, this
Does
is
it?
This is,
It's so plastic, I
Maybe
felt.
you
Anyway.
just gotta like vampires.
I guess.
I love vampires, April. How dare you think I don't?
Yeah, he's doing this whole podcast wearing his Dracula teeth.
Yeah, my Dracula teeth and also my leather assless vampire chaps. And
your-
just a
your
leather
Dracula
jacket with no
t-shirt.
shirt.
My collar with no shirts, just like
Yeah.
with a tie hanging off of it. So yeah, he's showing him the ropes on this very, very brightly lit beach
right.
at night.
Yeah.
So brightly lit, and these next two scenes feel like they take place like 20 feet from one another. There are so many Greek fishermen all over this beach. How are they getting away with killing people? Everybody would see you.
It's magic.
I don't know. they're killing a fisherman right off, right from the get go.
Yeah, like right by a boat right there. Yeah.
They toss him away. They walk like 10 feet to this bonfire, and there's a whole bunch of other Greek fishermen. And then he's telling Lestat, no, we have to remain in the shadows. No one can ever know that we're around. It's like everybody can see you right now, and they can see your fangs.
Okay, good point.
And then they walk another 10 feet to another bonfire, very brightly lit bonfire. It's like this Greek woman, is playing the violin with her father or whatever. Lestat Where does he get the violin?
They just had one sitting there, and he joins the jam sesh.
I'm not ready. What's this? A violin here?
Oh, don't make me. Oh, please don't make me play. Okay, all right. Okay, I will.
And yeah, they jam, and unfortunately, he violins too hard, and he plays too fast, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And they get scared.
His eyes glow.
Demon!
Yeah, but like before this, there was just a little conversation where Stuart Townsend was like, "We're the powerful. Why can't we just live out in the open?" And Mary's like, "No, we can't do that." And then he's like, "Well, that sucks," basically.
Yeah, he's like, I could never be known.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into why he does what he does in present day, and that's why it's in this movie. But it's kind of just like, oh, I like this violin girl, I have to kill her. Like I feel bad about that.
So this scene in particular is very funny. Other than the furious violin playing, which has the vampire trail on it, by the way, too.
It does.
So then his eyes glow, and the dad stands up and starts screaming like, "Vampire, vampire!" And you can see in the background, probably 30 feet away, is the original bonfire that they were just at, with probably about 10 fishermen. They all stand up and start panicking. Mm-hmm. The dad is killed by Marius right there, and then the girl runs probably 10 feet and then is stopped and killed by Lestat. And then Marius and him have a conversation.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever said about those people who are clearly watching this scene.
Maybe they ran away. And then they burn the bodies, and that's it.
But it's like the whole point was to catch the girl before she can tell anybody. But you can see people in the background reacting to the father yelling, "Vampire!"
Okay, well, maybe that could have been better executed.
Terrible blocking.
And now the next scene is...
Colin was just vicious, just tearing into the blocking of, let me check my notes, Queen of the Damned.
Plot hole. So now
Here on Cinema Sins.
now there's the scene with the statues, right?
Yeah,
and
so
that's it.
Yes.
Lestat finds this secret passage. It's really funny. He's playing fiddle again, and then his fiddle just sort of gets pulled out of his hand.
No, I think that was Akasha doing that. It wasn't just like he happened to throw it
it's like,
to the right place.
His fiddle bow goes, "Yoop."
Yeah.
Lands over by a button on the wall, and then he like finds this secret chamber. I really like the production design. I like the look of this chamber. It's really cool.
It does look cool. They had a set clearly somewhere,
Yeah, it's
or
really
in a
big.
real old building.
It's got these like spheres that are on fire. It looks really cool.
I will say the set design in this movie is very good. Like real locations, I thought it was good. So he sees the two vampire statues.
It's like a statue of Aaliyah and her king. So she's queen. Is it the king of the damned? I don't know.
Yes.
So I feel like the Queen of the Damned throughout this movie is like, Lestat, please stop playing this music. For the love of God, stop. I tried to pull the violin bow out of your
Just
hand.
to stop this awful new
Just
metal.
to stop
And
it.
so whatever he feels compelled to play violin
He's like,
for her.
"Oh, should I play for you?" And then he starts playing, and then her statue comes to life.
Her arm moves, and she turns it. And
It's funny. It kind of has like a cool marble look, like the statue, but then she turns her wrist, and it's clearly just somebody with white makeup on her hand.
Okay.
It's like, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. And then he decides to drink her blood, and I really, really like the sound effect of when he bites into her, because it's like
a crunching sound.
Well, it's like you imagine that he's biting into a statue, but underneath is a wrist. It's just a little detail I always liked.
He's just
So,
eating
April,
Doritos.
As a vampire fan, did you want to be killed by a vampire?
No.
Because that seems to be what Lestat mostly does in this movie.
It's true, yeah. I don't know.
You're
they're
like,
just
I'd be
cool.
special. I'd be sleepy like whatever her name is in this movie.
I don't know. Wait, we all want to be vampires, I guess, which I actually don't. I would never.
Okay.
I would never want to be a vampire.
I don't know. You got to wear all
All
that,
right,
like,
well, all right. Offers off the table then.
Kill innocent
crushed
people.
velvet and like
okay, so
leather pants.
Yeah, when he
It's so hot.
when he bites Akasha, we get this like little Akasha music video that kind of is reoccurring.
Aaliyah.
It's reoccurring in this movie of just like close-ups of her face with this like weird like old movie filter and like close-ups of things like the Ring video and like just like odd like blood splattering and you're just like like weird sound effects.
It's like I guess to establish their kind of connection, like she's like bonding with him or something like that.
It's just an odd little visual language thing that they do.
So then he kind of gains her powers. He kind of like passes out.
Yeah, he's
all
blood drunk.
Blood drunk. And then Marius finds him and he's like, "Oh, what have you done?" And Marius chains him up and like kind of tells him the story of Akasha. She was the queen of the damned.
And they killed everyone.
They've ruled Egypt, her and the king, and they pretty much like almost drained everybody of their blood to the point where the king lost his thirst for blood and then just became a statue. And then
they just got bored.
Yeah,
So
and then
stopped.
Akasha became a statue as well because she was kind of bored, didn't have her companion.
And I'm sure that there is more to the story, which is probably actually in the Queen of the Damned book, but is not in this movie.
Yeah, I want to see that story.
Apparently, it's an interesting story about how because she is the first vampire and how it's happened, but I don't know because I haven't read it.
She was struck by lightning.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Yep. I don't know it, but I feel that's what happened.
Yeah, they have a flashback montage set to Monster Mash. I was walking down the street.
That'd be amazing. It was a mash. It was a monster mash.
Monster Mash.
Anyway, that's the end of the
walking
flashback.
by the pyramids late at
We couldn't
night.
get the rights to Monster Mash, or it's Monster Swim, which is just as good as the Monster Mash. The Monster Swim.
Was that a real
Real
thing?
song, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I gotta look that up.
Was that somebody trying to cash in on...
No, it wasn't somebody. I mean, the somebody was Bobby Boris Pickett.
Was it the same person?
Yes.
Oh, so it was
no.
his follow-up to Monster
He has like
Mash.
10 monster-based songs.
Oh my God.
Like one about the environment. Don't forget, it was a monster holiday.
Oh no! So he was like a chubby checker. He's like, we gotta
Yes.
recapture that twist magic. How about the jive or the swing?
That's right.
Son of a bitch! How about twist in space?
All right,
okay,
back to vampires.
Yeah, so the flashback is now over. He wakes up, the statues are gone, and now we're back to modern day.
Yeah,
and
Marius
now-
has like abandoned him.
Yeah,
and this
so-
seems to be like the impetus for him. What he's doing in present day. It seems
Who,
like he just
Marius?
wants to meet Marius again.
Yeah, well, apparently, like Marius went to sleep as well, so they both slept for a long time.
Yeah, Marius like shows up at his pad. He's now
Yeah.
moved to Los Angeles, preparing for his big show in Death Valley.
Yeah, is that next or is that later? I guess
That's
it
next,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. But yeah, so
Oh no, sorry. I'm
well,
sorry.
I think we have the club scene.
No, we got to go to the club
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
The
And
Admiral's arms.
Now this is so funny. I burst out laughing at the way Jessie is dressed because she looks
you not a big fan of big fuzzy furs, Colin?
big fuzzy furs and
she
big
had Sailor Moon hair.
kind of like pom poms on either side of her head, like kind of.
Everyone in this club looks 50 years old too, and it's like, it looks like a real goth club.
They're vampires. But yeah, you're right. And she goes in and gets found out immediately.
As soon as she walks in the door, you know, I don't know what her plan was.
I
but-
know. Like she really just got lucky that Lestat happened to be there.
Yeah, and but the way people are dressed, and it's just so comical. And it's like, how did they get there? Are they taking like the London Tube to get to this club?
It was the 2000s. That's
guess.
how they dressed.
And I guess they can fly, right?
They can also fly. Apparently,
So you
all
think that they're
vampires.
so embarrassed by the way that they dress that they have to fly there?
He does cut to this scene. Where's Jimmy? Oh, he said he was going to take the tube today, and he's like getting laughed at.
Yeah.
Everyone's making fun of him. On the
Everyone's
subway.
going in the bathroom and changing and then stepping out into the club. That's what's happening.
Exactly. But she goes in, and yeah, these vampires basically descend on her immediately, and are like, "Well, you don't belong here. I'm gonna eat you." And she's like, "Who bit you?" And she goes, "Marius." And then there's a shot,
This is a great
the
shot.
shot of Lestat coming out of the shadows.
Yeah.
Is the most hilarious thing I think I've ever seen. He looks like a werewolf.
He does. His eyes glow in the shadows, and
And
then
you
his
just
like
see his face
kind of
and
emerges.
his hand. Like I gotta get a screenshot of that because it looks ridiculous.
It's great. He kind of hears, "Ooh, Marius."
Yeah. So they go out in the alley and they go to bite her, but then Lestat shows up.
He fights them off. Lots of like motion trails.
We
in
get
this
the
scene.
motion trails, and then they have a little conversation. And she's like, "Well, I read your diary, so I know things from that no one would know. Like, you don't want to be alone." And it's like, motherfucker, it's so simple. And
Doesn't Lestat go, your kind never satisfies my thirst?
Yeah.
And by that he
Yeah.
means women, right? Like, because he's gay.
I think he meant
What else could it be
Talamasca.
mean?
He meant
What else could that mean?
Talamascans.
He kind of calls her out. He knows what she is.
Yeah,
The
and people
Talamascans.
who observe the dark, I guess. It's
I
not
don't
really
know.
explained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
And
just-
then the voiceover is like, hey, it's me again, Lestat. I've taken over. And it's like, no.
I'm back in LA at my new pad. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Marius shows up.
Oh, Lestat sleeps beside a painting of like
Himself.
Is it Marius or is it himself?
I think it's himself on stage.
That makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, so they have their cute little reunion. He calls his house gauche. They make fun of each other's clothing. It's all very adorable.
Yeah, he's
They
like,
go hang out in front of a giant billboard of Lestat.
of his dick.
yeah, this is so funny. They're like, come on, I'll show you Los Angeles. And then they fly up onto this scaffold right in front of this huge building mural of Lestat, and they are right by his dick. Like, they're right by his crotch. It's great.
Yeah, and then basically he warns him, like, people are coming to get you. And he's
Akasha,
like,
especially.
let them come. And then, he talks about how Akasha, and he's like, I guess because he can feel her presence, he's like, she woke up and she's coming after you because your music.
Your music is so bad. Please make it stop.
Yeah, we get a flash. He's like woken up and then eaten the king statue, torn out his throat. So now I don't know. She's coming for Lestat. Blah blah blah.
But first, nip at the old pub.
Now we're back to this pub. She kind of slinks into this club, which is actually a really good scene. This is the first time. This is the 1 hour mark, and like Aaliyah is just showing up.
I imagine the Aaliyah fans in the audience, everyone who came to see a Queen of the Damned movie, are like, yeah.
They've already left at this point. They're like, okay, she's just gonna be a statue in this movie.
I have to say,
Look,
I'm gonna say my favorite thing, other than the music, obviously. I really like Aaliyah's outfits. I think they're also her hair looks amazing, but like these like metal breastplates, it looks Egyptian, but like also kind of not modern, but just really really cool looking and ornate, and like. They have good costumes in this movie, but hers especially look fantastic. She looks great in
hers
them.
is a little classier. She kind of stands out amongst the goths in this club.
And I think she was really young when she did this role. But didn't she die when she was like 20 or something?
I
She has this presence,
She does. She's really good in this scene, actually. And I'm kind of sad that they don't have her in doing more in this movie.
Yeah.
So she kind of goes in. What were you going to say, Justin? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the complete opposite of you is I do not think that she's very good in this.
Well,
that she's like, I'm a vampire. She's doing like an Egyptian accent that I can't do.
Yes, but I feel like I do think she is good in this. Yeah, I'm gonna say I think good performance. She's a very green actress.
Yeah,
and if she had lived, she could have gotten a lot better. And
she would have been our James Dean.
Maybe not, but maybe like some other actor who turned out.
I don't even remember any of her lines. I should have written them down. I just imagine her being like, I want to suck your blood.
She could have been a J-Lo.
Her lines are like,
oh, J-Lo's great.
Join me or die. That's what we always used to quote.
She's got a good physical presence, let's
Wait,
say.
when you used to beat up the nerds at school? You're like, join me or
just
die.
when we would quote the movie, because we saw this movie so much, we would quote lines from it. It was funny.
So what are your favorite lines other than that from the movie, April?
It's me. I'm Lestat.
We'd always say, Lestat would always say, we're the powerful. That's what we would say, because he says it's stupid. And,
I just love you guys saying that and like high-fiving on the playground.
As like the school bullies are like dunking their heads in toilets.
April was the school bully. We've already covered this.
But yeah, this scene, she like does a little dance to.
She kind of has like the way she kind of slithers almost. Like,
Why Won't You Die? That song. That's the song.
Why won't
you die? And her powers are revealed that she can set people on fire. Pretty cool.
Get me the recycled footage from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, please.
All right. I was going to say, Colin, what's your opinion of this combustion effect? Because it is very dated, but what do you think?
It's not bad in this scene. Later on, during the concert, it feels like a different company did the effect, and it looks very, very bad.
I like the scene.
Subblade 1.
Well, she pulls the guy's heart out and eats it, and then she sets people
I
on
have
fire.
questions. So wait, vampires have hearts that pump blood? Come on now.
That's a good point, but they do have blood. Who knows? But yeah, I did you notice though when she sets the place on fire and then she exits, she kind of just pops. She pops into frame.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the beginning of a cool shot because two guys on fire are blown out of a practical building.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Then it pushes in and switches to CGI.
Yeah, she kind of, I don't know how they did it. They probably motion control. They shot 2 passes, one with flames, one without.
They were doing motion control around this time. When did motion control start? Was it the early 90s?
Motion control was back in the 70s.
70s, okay, yeah.
for Star Wars.
Because I know that they used it a lot on the Frighteners, because they were talking a lot about that in the making of that I was watching.
Probably the only way, because she wouldn't be shot against green screen because she continues on down the alley as we follow her in one shot. So they probably would have done one with the flames, one without. I don't know. It's fine.
How do you, like, this is getting into the weeds, but like, set up a motion control shot in a different location to match the exact camera move? Can you only do that like on blue screen, basically?
We actually did it on the cell. So for the scene where she first goes into the guy's mind and then she stands up in the lab and then we pull back and she's really tiny.
Yeah.
So I think they shot her against blue and then they like camera tracked that shot in the computer and then scaled it up to the proper size of the set and then drove the camera rig again with that data. So you can. I mean, we shot a commercial recently with motion control. It was on the same location, but...
Yeah, that's what I usually think of when I think of motion control, is like you're in the same location and you can just play the shot back twice so you can like remove something or whatever.
Yeah, we had like the same actress doing multiple things in the same location, so we had to shoot different passes with her. It lines up very, very well. When we used to do it, it was a little wonky. You'd always have to kind of stabilize, and it didn't work so well. But nowadays it's...
But now it's like perfect that when you do it, like it matches.
Oh, yeah. Like I was kind of worried about it because I hadn't done it for so long. And then, we shot the commercial and then put it together on set with the editor, and it lined up perfectly. They just had this little blinky light that just goes boop, and then you just sync up that light in all three shots, and it's perfect. It's like bang on.
Well, that has been our motion control corner. Now back to the movie.
We're trying to teach, people have learned about new metal, they've learned about motion control.
We want to laugh. We also want to learn.
Yeah, that's right.
It's called edutainment.
Okay, so are we about at
That's why we got our $1 million grant from the Ontario government.
It's the CanCon.
Give us money. Are we at the Jonathan Davis cameo?
Yep.
So the singer from Korn in this movie, people, as a ticket scalper.
Yeah. So the Sopranos.
Oh, he's the guy that's like, you want to get the $200 ticket?
Yeah.
You want the $200 ticket?
Yeah. Apparently he improv those lines.
Oh my God. Wow.
So was he supposed to say nothing and he just started talking?
I think so. Yeah.
So the Sopranos manager is out collecting girls again for Lestat to feed on. Yeah. And then Jesse's there and she kind of sneaks in, so she gets a private
that's
audience.
right, because Jesse reacts with like $200, and supposedly that was like her real reaction.
Yeah, she was like laughing. She's like $200. But yeah, so she's
that's how much tickets cost now, ladies and gentlemen.
Ticketmaster.
Yeah, especially for something that big. But this whole 10-minute scene, I hate it because they have no chemistry.
No.
And she can't act, and he's not much better, and it's just horribly boring watching them have a romance that it's just not there. Like I just don't buy it.
You never get the vibe that they're like falling for one another or that's what's supposed to be happening.
Well, the movie knows it, so it's like, let's cut away to some other stuff while they have sex.
He takes her on a flight. He goes on a little Superman flight to the Griffith Observatory.
And they're flying through the air and it looks really dumb.
It feels like they're having sex in the air.
Oh, no,
because it cuts to like oh no, okay.
Come on.
That would be awesome.
She's like,
because it cuts to like them having sex and then they land on the Griffith Observatory.
They're wearing clothes.
Well, they got dressed in the air too.
That didn't happen. But she is like grinning like an idiot when they're in the air, and it looks terrible to the point that I think that it might have even been an outtake that it's just in the movie. And they go to the Griffith Observatory, and she's like, "Bite my boob."
She clearly wants to be a vampire.
Yeah,
for some reason.
He's upset, and he actually has a very poignant line that I connected with, where he's like, "Marius was right. You're beautiful to me because you're human. Your delicate heart, even as you think it's breaking." Beautiful poetry right there.
It's like Jonathan Davies himself wrote it.
Yeah, but I like that, and it's just like, and if that was true, he wouldn't have made her a vampire.
Yeah.
So then he's like,
he's gonna scare her.
What about all the other women? Screw them. Like they're dead.
Like dem broads?
They
deserve
so
to
he's
die.
like, "You want to see what it's like? I'll show you."
Yeah, he feeds on like a woman in the park, and just to
and
kind of scare her
and she's
away.
like disgusted, and it's like, dude, what did you think you were signing up for?
Yeah.
She comes off like such an idiot.
Well, okay, now we get to my favorite part of the movie, probably the best scene in the movie, which is the Death Valley concert.
Oh, wow! It gets us into the scene.
We see all these thousands of guys. It looks like Burning Man. It's in the middle of the desert, and all these like vans are driving up. So okay, yeah, and everyone's like preparing for this show. Lestat's on stage, and I guess like goading all these. You can see all these vampires kind of standing in the crowd.
They look like they're wearing like Halloween hoods.
They're comical. It's
Monk
so
hoods,
funny.
yeah.
They don't look threatening in any way.
No.
And the crowd is going crazy, but they're like standing still, like just glaring at them.
Those
The
shots,
crowd is moving around them and fast forward.
Yeah, it looked really dated, but very much enjoyed the scene.
Touching
fight-
you makes me die inside.
Yeah, that's right.
I wrote this lyric.
This fight, they attack him on stage in front of a crowd, which is so funny, which, goes against everything that you've been told about them. They like to keep this society secret and stay in the shadows.
Then why kill him in the most public way possible?
Meet him in the green room backstage or something. Like kill him.
Do you think the vampire feels dumb, the one who jumped right at him and then got impaled on his microphone stand? He's like, oh, I feel so stupid.
Should have thought this through. He had a stake right
Should
there.
have just waited for him in the bathroom.
And like while this
But then he should have been like, it's not a wooden stake. Does he have a wooden microphone? These vampire rules all over the place.
I don't know if it matters.
Who
but
knows?
while this is happening, like Jesse's at the concert with her buddy David, and Marius shows up with a gang of I think they're supposed to be the ancient vampires. So they're good ancient vampires that are just there to observe. But then Marius is like, I don't want my buddy Lestat to get killed. So he gets up and he starts fighting the bad vampires.
This is amazing. It's like they're back to back. Like,
yeah.
Hey, bro, I thought you wouldn't show up.
It's slightly homoerotic.
Yeah.
I got 8. I got 9.
Yeah. So he's helping.
I'm the
out.
only one that can kick your ass.
Yeah, like Marius shows shows himself to David because he's obsessed with him, and then he like disappears behind a person. And then I read in the IMDb, like that was all done practically, like that wasn't an effect.
It's amazing.
He just ducked behind a person at just the right time. Isn't that funny?
Or they actually made him a vampire.
Yeah. So
That's the thing about this movie. Wait, I have another continuity error, a little goof.
Okay.
Are vampires supposed to show up in cameras?
Who knows?
I don't know.
It's
It's not a mirror, or is it?
Somewhere.
Well, it depends. Are they using a mirror DSLR or are they using
Exactly.
This is true.
a full frame camera?
Plot hole. I don't know.
Plot hole. Let me add it to the IMDb goofs.
Excuse me.
But yeah, I loved this concert, well, like the singing part, because it was like, I'm at a Korn concert, but it's sung by someone much hotter than Jonathan Davis. Yes, love the music. And
His band is great too. They all run off stage as soon as like the vampires start fighting. They're fighting with knives, by the way. This is really weird.
Yeah.
But there's like 10 of them on
the hooded
stage.
guys
and
are lame.
they all have this like motion trail effect on them. It's so funny.
It looks really bad.
They're all on wires. It's great. And then like
I know it's like, more than a decade too early, but man, if Aaron Eckhart landed and he's like, I heard you need some help. Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
I'm here to help.
Are these gargoyles? You may forget that in the Frankenstein movie, I fight gargoyles for some reason.
No, and then they have to go immediately go into his flashback, narrated by him.
Yeah.
You probably wondered how I got here.
Oh man.
All right.
So, yeah.
So there's a big fight, and I'm like, man, what a climax. I look at the time. There's a half an hour left
Well,
of this
who
movie.
hasn't been in this movie hardly at all?
Akasha.
Queen of the Dam.
Yeah, she shows up. Everybody gets set on fire.
She doesn't just show up.
She bursts.
Was she waiting under the wings
Yes.
for the perfect moment to
She
come
was
up?
under the stage. She comes up and like perfectly.
Yeah, she can. It's like
So-
it's almost like a riser.
It's a rising platform.
What was it? A like Spinal Tap situation?
Yeah.
Where she's like, I want to get there right at the beginning, and she's like, "Hello, death." Ah, shit. Hello,
Yeah.
death. Oh no, wait, not the right way. Hello.
Wanted to save my new lover.
The pyro guy is like, shit, it's not going off.
Yeah, so she comes up and all the bodies burst.
Burst
and
into flames,
The
yeah.
bodies like fly into the air above the crowd, and this was the shot that looked really bad.
Yeah, the crowd is loving this. They think it's part of the show, by the
Yeah.
way.
So how does the crowd react when like all the vampires run off?
Exactly.
Are they like,
I don't know.
is it continuing to go on?
It's like the
What's,
greatest show I've ever seen.
Or
Lestat
my sister at least my dad told me, he once took my sister to a Green Day show, and they played for 10 minutes, and then he got naked, and that was it. They did not continue to play.
Oh, yeah, they probably just like feel ripped off, and then they're stuck in like Death Valley.
The Joe, whatever his name, got naked.
Yeah, Billy Joel. I think he had during his substance abuse period.
Fantastic.
It's not Billy Joel. It's
Billy Joe Armstrong.
Billy Joe Armstrong. Oh, I know that.
Billy Joel. He's like the
Billy
new lead
Joel
singer.
got naked.
Billy Joe Armstrong won't be showing up tonight.
And he was hanging dog.
Yeah.
Because, he's a piano man and everything.
Billy Joel?
He plays a piano with his dick.
Okay, so Akasha shows up, burns everybody, and like
grabs him and flies off.
She zoom affects him towards her, and they fly straight up into the air.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Which looks pretty silly.
And then she takes him to like Akasha Island, which is pretty much, you find out later that it's like...
It's just a random place.
It's just a resort. And
she says like, he's like, you own this place? And she goes, yeah, the whole world is our place.
We live wherever
we want.
So yeah.
I love how she's like, we can do whatever we want, and here is just a rich person's mansion.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Well, what they do is they fuck. And vampires up until this point do not have sex. So I think that she is like bringing some of the old ways in or something like that. Like, or she's just so like
So like anal is what you're trying to say?
She's so intoxicating. He has to have sex with her. That being said, it is a little like cheesy because they do it in a bath of rose petals, and it looks like a heart.
It's a little cheesy.
It's a heart-shaped bath. Yeah, it's like, but she like bites him, and then it's like bloody.
I want to see.
It's a very sexy scene.
I want to see the.
You want to see like a far away shot of this going on?
No,
like,
Well, you don't really see anything like
without
that.
the music, and it's just like the sound effects. I want to see the lead up to this scene where she's like, I don't know, collecting roses and like filling up the bathtub for like an hour.
I'm assuming it was just already there.
I guess.
But
lighting all the candles.
Then the sex scene, though, we're back to the Akasha music video shots where it's just this flash, and then they cut to them like in a bed, but they're like not moving, and it's like through like the curtains. It's very awkward.
Yeah, it's very weird.
But I still think it's a super hot scene, and everybody, all the Aaliyah fans and the Stuart Townsend fans, you get to see him without his shirt off again. And,
finally, the North and the South can come together in harmony.
Just a scene without a shirt. He barely wears a shirt in this whole movie.
He's always shirtless.
Hey, yeah, if I looked like that.
Or a see-through shirt.
I'd be shirtless.
So, did you have the hots for Stuart Townsend back?
I really don't remember, but I think we
Okay.
thought it was hot, but like I never thought that he was a good actor.
No, he kind of fits the tone of this movie, I think.
Yeah.
I couldn't see him in Interview with a Vampire,
No.
but you can't out act old Tommy boy. But yeah, so he wakes up in the morning.
Old Tommy boy, Chris Farley.
So
In Interview with a
He wakes
Vampire.
up and he's able to walk around during the day, which is pretty cool.
yeah, so it's like having sex with Aaliyah or whatever has imbued him with some powers.
Drinking her blood, and then they find out that they ate everybody on the
big reveal.
house.
It's just
Also, you must wear this smaller leather vest.
Yeah, she does put him in a leather vest.
yeah, but he's kind of like horrified because it's just corpses everywhere. And he's like, "Is this what you want? You want to live in like a world of corpses and blah blah blah." So you can kind of see he's not quite on board with her plan.
He still values humanity. And then we get to finally the climax, but before that we get more boring Jessie stuff and her vampire aunt.
Yeah, she somehow ends up at this
The place from her dream.
back in her childhood home, I guess. Lena Olin is the actress. It's like her aunt. She hasn't aged a day.
She's okay in this, but like she's not in it. So
Yeah.
like
Remember me? No? Well, it's almost the end of the
Exactly.
movie. Let's rush through
Okay,
this
so-
and get to a
yeah,
finale.
in this scene we have all the ancient vampires and they're just like
There's like
we have
four
to
of them.
destroy Akasha. So I'm pretty sure the round-faced guy with the curly hair, blonde hair is supposed to be Armand.
Which is bizarre.
And what a
And then we get to
What a
Road
separation
the
from
Road
it.
Warriors. Bruce Spence is one of the vampires as well. The tall, lanky guy.
Oh, that's who it
Yeah.
was.
He's from the Matrix, the third Matrix.
I think that guy has been in like the most franchises
Yeah,
ever
he's
or
in Lord
something
of the
like
Rings as the Mouth of Sauron in the extended edition of Return of the King.
whoa.
Yeah, he's just a very gangly looking guy. He was the train guy in the Matrix?
that. Yeah, the train conductor in Matrix Revolutions.
He was
He must be really
Road
old.
Warrior and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, playing a different character.
He was also in a series of very popular sex comedies in Australia as the main guy. I'm trying to find his name. It was like Stork or something.
He was in
like
that
that
Wizard
was
of
his name.
Oz Australian movie that we watched.
Oh, really?
He was the
Oh.
surfer guy, the kind of lazy guy.
I can barely remember. That was
The Land of Oz, or
very
whatever it was
early
called.
episode.
And then he was in Attack of the Clones. He was like an alien that was talking to.
God, he's in everything.
much.
What a career.
So I don't even know if he has a line in
He was the
this,
Doug
but-
Jones of his time.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't have.
He's jealous of Doug
So
Jones.
basically, they're like, our plan, we're gonna drink her blood, but whoever drinks the last drop is gonna die.
Yeah.
So then they all kind of like look at each other.
And then surprise, Aaliyah
She
just shows up.
because she knows everything. She can hear everything. She's
Yeah.
like, I can hear you guys plotting against me.
Yeah.
And then she talks a lot about how, Lestat, he's such a good king. He obeys me. He does everything I want him to do. And she goes, I'd like for you to kill her, please, which is
Yeah,
kind of funny.
to Jesse.
We were like, oh, thank God.
But this is just like the lamest ending. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, it's so lame.
Aaliyah-
It feels like a reshoot.
I
Like,
know.
we got one stage. Let's wrap it up.
yeah, it's like so horribly blocked. So they basically just like descend upon
just
Akasha
start biting
and just
her.
start biting her and sucking her blood. And she just stands there doing nothing. Like she fights a few of them off.
Well,
but
Lestat previously drained her elbow. of a
yeah,
lot of
but
blood,
it's
so.
just as a scene, it's just so clumsy and awkward and
Yeah, and that
weird.
that Matrix guy is like sucking on her shoulder like it's a lollipop. And like, how much blood are you getting out of someone's shoulder?
I don't know, but she doesn't. She's not doing anything. I'm like, this is the queen of the damned.
She burns 2 people.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And then what's her name? Jesse's aunt steps in. Lena Olin
Mana or something.
drains the last of her blood,
And then,
and then that's
Just
it.
tears streaming down my cheeks. I'm like, not the ant, my favorite
I know,
character.
but I will say, when Aaliyah turns into to dust, that looked really cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool shot.
Very, very good effect for the time. I was like, oh, is this like real dust elements that they comped in?
No, I think it's an all CG shot. So they go all around her body multiple times, and then she's like turning black, and then like all the dust. Like,
yeah,
breaks
it's
apart.
like you could tell they painted her black, but then at one point she just becomes
turns
a
into,
CG.
like, a CG character,
Yeah, but
yeah.
it looked like I was like super impressed. How is there a movie with such good effects like this and such bad effects of the flying?
different
stuff?
company.
Yeah.
I bet you a different company did that shot.
I'm sure it was.
It's
It
always
has
the
to
case.
be.
One company will do like the fire effects, and one company will do something else. and
Yeah,
blah, blah,
I mean
blah.
there were several effects companies in the credits.
Yeah, this is definitely the best shot. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then,
it's like,
whoa,
wow, great.
Jesse's not dead because Lestat's going to make her a vampire. And so now he's stuck with this boring girl for the rest of his life. Or he could just ditch her. I'm sure.
Yeah, just kill her and move
Yeah,
on.
but now she's
Get together with
so now
Marius.
It's not quite over because we have to visit her mentor David again.
Back at the
And
Talamasca Society or-
basically, she shows up and was like, "I'm a vampire now," and he's like, "Okay."
Great.
Cool.
She goes, "You want to be a vampire?" And he's like, "No, I'm too old to live forever." And she goes, "Okay, well, let me know if you change your mind."
Yeah, and then she's
Bye.
like, "This is Lestat, by the way." And
Yeah.
Lestat's, he goes,
like-
"I thought you'd want this back, my journal." They're nice guys now. This is so bizarre.
Yeah, they're all friendly. And
I guess it's like, okay, got you.
All
later.
it took for Lestat to turn was just the love of a good woman.
Yeah. So then they leave, and then the music comes, da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na, which is that song by the band Kidney Thieves, which is the most
And
hilarious
April and her friends are jumping to their
Yeah.
She
feet,
did this in our
hooting and
living room.
song.
hollering.
Marius shows up, and then he goes in, and he
Hello,
approaches David. So it leaves it open ended.
So Marius is going to take David as his like companion now,
Yeah.
or something. I don't know, whatever.
Or maybe he's just going to tell him his story because they'll have their own little interview with the vampire.
Let's have another interview.
Yeah, because David was studying him and is obsessed with him. So
Right.
make up whatever you want in your own head
Sure.
about what happened after that. And then they walk away, and then everyone's moving in fast motion, and they're in slow motion.
yeah, they're hand in hand too. It's like Lestat and Jesse are.
I know, it's just like,
Jesse, our favorite character.
yeah.
It's like, really? I don't know.
So great
there you
movie,
go.
you guys. I mean, okay, yes, it has its
Listen, I
problems.
had my issues, but 4 out of 5.
I honestly, that's how I feel because I realize there's a lot of really stupid stuff in this movie and there's boring stuff, but there's also a lot of great stuff and there's also funny bad stuff and there's also just good stuff and I can't get over like my own nostalgia.
Yeah, it's a little inconsistent, but it's very, very entertaining to watch
Thank you.
for multiple reasons.
Better than I, Frankenstein.
Ah, hey,
Yes.
don't you dare. No, I'm just kidding.
I hated I, Frankenstein.
That was kind of boring. This is some camp.
Yeah,
is
this
some-
has some camp fun
Yes.
to it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Great tunes, great vibes,
Oh, yeah.
great experience.
Yeah, some hot bods.
I would also recommend. Where are we watching Interview with the Vampire?
It's
by the way?
airing on
Crave?
AMC right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
The TV show, pretty good.
Yeah, if you're into this story, we've only seen the first 2 episodes, but so far it's great. It's a reimagining of the Interview with the Vampire, and it's really fun.
It's kind of funny too. It's
also funny,
There've been
yeah.
some cackling out loud scenes.
So Queen of the Damned, available on iTunes to rent. It's out there, people. I'm glad that we finally got to talk about it because it was very fun for me. Just to experience listening to the soundtrack
relive the
again.
old days.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to email the podcast, we're at no such thing as a bad movie @gmail.com, and we're on Twitter at no such thing pod. And if you'd like to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/no such thing as a bad movie, just $5 a month, and you'll get a bonus episode every 2 weeks. We just released one on the Munsters, Rob Zombie, speaking of new metal. And then next week, we'll be talking about Guillermo del Toro's new series, The Cabinet of Curiosities. The Cabinet of Curiosities.
My voice is so hoarse right now
From doing the
Guillermo
voice.
del
I'm doing the
Toro.
Guillermo.
So yeah, definitely check out our episode on that. We go through a little bit about every episode. It's a lot of fun, good content. And if you want to if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at April Atmansky.
You can find me on Twitter. It's DeClux, DECLOUX, and the letter J. Or every week on the Important Cinema Club podcast, where all great podcasts can be watched, listened to. Oh boy, I really stumbled at the end of that one.
That's Dan.
Who writes your copy? You can
Squarespace, if you want a website.
If you can follow me on Twitter, Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA, and I think it's the same on Instagram as well.
Thanks for dropping by. Thank you for enjoying all the spooky stuff we had. Maybe we'll continue on into November. Why not? Lots of fun B-movie horror movies. We'll see. We'll find out next week. I'm April Atmansky.
I'm Justin. No more spooky names anymore,
No.
DeClux.
We're going to have to come up with Christmas names because it's coming up soon.
No.
Do we do Christmas names?
No.
Colin, Colin Candy Cane Cunningham.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.